At 5:12 a.m., the phone began to vibrate on the nightstand. Not ring, vibrate. That small detail is what woke him. The quiet urgency of it. The way it felt wrong for a normal February morning. Oleh reached for the phone, still half asleep. Before he even read the message, he already knew. His life had ended and begun at the same time. Wake up. It started. Outside his apartment window in Kharkiv, the city was holding its breath. No sirens yet. No explosions. Just the low hum of a place that didn't know it was about to be torn open. Oleh was 32 years old. Before that morning, his biggest worries were ordinary ones. Deadlines, a leaking sink, whether he and his wife could afford a larger apartment. Before their daughter started school, he worked as a civil engineer. He designed bridges, not the kind people noticed, but the kind they trusted without thinking. He liked that. Structures that held weight quietly. On weekends, he made pancakes for his daughter, Sophia. She insisted on flipping them herself, even though she was too small to do it right. The pancakes were always uneven. Burnt on one side, pale on the other. They ate them anyway. That was his life. Small, solid, human. And then the phone vibrated. Within hours, the sounds came. Distant at first, like thunder that didn't belong to the weather. By noon, smoke was visible from parts of the city he recognized. Places he'd driven past 100 times. Oleh didn't talk much that day. He packed slowly, methodically, as if he were preparing for a business trip, instead of a war. His wife, Katerina, watched him from the doorway. "You don't have to go today," she said. "I do," he answered, not looking at her. They both knew why. He knelt in front of Sophia. She was sitting on the floor with her stuffed rabbit. "Daddy has to go help," he said. "Like a superhero?" she asked. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Something like that. At the train station, men stood shoulder to shoulder. Strangers, bound by the same decision. Some joked too loudly. Some stared at the floor. Some cried openly into their phones. Oleh stood still, watching, listening, trying to memorize everything. The echo of footsteps, the smell of oil and metal, the weight of his backpack. Some instinct told him nothing would ever feel the same again. His unit was sent east. Villages with names Americans would struggle to pronounce. One main road, a school, a small store selling bread and cigarettes. The first weeks blurred together. Digging, waiting, listening to the night, sleeping in fragments. Fear wasn't constant. That surprised him. It came in waves, sharp and overwhelming, then gone. What remained was exhaustion. One night, they were stationed near an abandoned farmhouse. Clothes still hung on a line. A child's shoe lay in the dirt, half buried. Oleh couldn't stop looking at it. "Don't," a fellow soldier said quietly. "You'll drive yourself crazy." But something inside him had already started to crack. The moment that stayed with him didn't happen during a big battle. No speeches, no dramatic music, just a gray afternoon under a sky that fell too low. Shelling started suddenly. Close. They took cover in a basement with two civilians, an elderly man and a young woman barely 20. The walls shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The young woman was crying, hands pressed over her ears. Another explosion. Closer. She grabbed Oleh's sleeve. "Am I going to die?" He wanted to promise her something. Anything. Instead, he said the only honest thing he could. "I don't know, but you're not alone." Her grip tightened, and in that moment, the war stopped being about maps and advances. It became about this basement, this fear, this shared breath between explosions. They survived that day. Others didn't. A week later, one of his closest friends was killed by shrapnel. One second they were arguing about coffee. The next, blood in the snow. Oleh didn't cry. He carried the body, cleaned his hands, followed orders. Only that night, alone in the quiet, the weight finally landed. He thought of Sophia's pancakes, of bridges that were supposed to hold, and wondered what inside him had just collapsed. Months passed. Seasons changed. The war did not end. When he came home on rotation, Kharkiv looked familiar and foreign. Buildings were scarred, streets quieter. Sophia ran into him, with all her weight. "You're back," she said, like it was a fact she had always known. That night, in the dark kitchen, Oleh finally spoke. "I'm different." Katerina nodded. "So am I." He doesn't know what the future holds, but he knows this. The war did not turn him into a hero. It turned him into a witness. To fear, to loss, to courage that doesn't look like movies. To ordinary people who stood not because they wanted to fight, but because there was nowhere else to stand. Somewhere, bridges are still being built, not only of steel and concrete, but of memory and meaning. And as long as stories like his are remembered, the weight they carried will not disappear into silence.